Hello there. Happy Independence celebration to you and to Nigeria. Yes, Nigeria is 62 years and a lot has happened in the history of this country. But one thing I, as a person, am grateful for is that we are still one entity called Nigeria. There is still a country that we can be proud of, which is Nigeria, in spite of everything that Nigeria has gone through, in spite of all that we've gone through as a people. The issue of Boko Haram in recent times, inflation rates going up here, almost all the time. Dollar has gone up, and pound, sterling. But in all, we have something to be grateful for. Welcome to this week's edition of Facts, Face, and Forum. My name is Peace Isaac Yerokon, and I'm glad to be here today. Now, one of the areas of concern in Nigeria is that of energy. We all know sometime last week, yes, it was announced that the national grid has collapsed again, and that has happened severally in the year 2022. And when that happens, we are thrown into darkness globally. It's a dangerous thing to do. Now, now we're crying for, sustainable energy, or what they call renewable energy. What can we do? How do we get out of this quagmire, darkness that envelopes this Nigeria sometimes through the collapse of the national grid, what we call power holdings, either EKDC or whatever, with even the increase in tariff, yet the supply of electricity is nothing to write home about. People are spending so much money on diesel and fueling. Yeah, you fuel your vehicle, you fuel your car. You fuel your vehicle, you fuel your generator, you fuel everything. Then you buy diesel for generator, you buy diesel for it's so much. How do we get out of this quagmire? How do we solve this energy crisis? That's the crux of discussion today on Facts, Face, and Forum. After the break, I'll tell you what we have. Please stay with us. Right. Today we'll be looking at how to achieve sustainable energy. Sometime in September, the power, was a bit stable, and suddenly, the national grid collapsed, and then we had problems, and it has power supply has become epileptic again. Now we have a guest who is a power analyst, Captain Caulcrick. Captain Caulcrick, we had an interview with Captain Caulcrick during the week, and he's going to take us through these issues. How do we achieve sustainable energy in Nigeria? Captain Caulcrick, thank you for being part of today's edition of Facts, Face, and Forum. So you tell us.
The sun crosses the equator, right? Twice a year. First in March, right? And we're very close to the equator, and in September. In March, the cross is going towards the northern hemisphere, where they have their summer, right? Then in September, it starts going back. It's on its way now towards the South Africa, the southern hemisphere. So in September, the temperature is very high. We're in the tropics. We're very close to the equator. So when the temperature is high, what happens to us? We need to cool ourselves. More use of air conditioners, fans, and the components in the air conditioners, particularly the air conditioners and fans, they are electric motors. To start them, you need about 6 times the rated power. So if an electric motor is rated 200 watts, it will need about at least 1,200 watts to start. Those are disturbances on the grid. The energy crisis is that we do not have enough. The demand, you see, in modern economy, there's a high demand for electricity because electricity is the easiest to convert to any other energy. So we all desire electricity, and we don't have enough. And electricity has another characteristics. It is perishable. On a national scale, it becomes very worse. You cannot. It is challenging to put it into storage to be used later. I'm sure your own profession, just like airtime, right? Something you cannot. Once that airtime goes, it goes forever. You lost it. So the same electricity. Once it's produced and it's not utilized at that time, it's gone. So, and it's a waste. You cannot recover that cost. So there's a crisis because we don't have enough.
All right, Captain Caulcrick, I'll just have to ask you one question from here. What is actually going on? Why do we experience collapse of the national grid every now and then? Is there a reason to that?
We all have generators at home. We all know the limitations of our generators. We do not overload them. It becomes very tricky, okay, to really manage, not overload a grid. The reason is that households and factories do not give advance notices, okay, to when they need light, how much power they need. You know, so unlike your own generator, you know when you need lights, you go and put it on. You know your limitation, you do not overload it. So all those things are there. But in a grid, for it to be stable, you must produce more than you need. We have our demand is about 50,000 megawatts. And we're talking about 4,000. So there's going to be issues. Siemens is coming in. What Siemens is trying to do is, the first thing they're going to do is to automate the protection to have that national collapse, system collapse. The reason is that if I'm the one creating that disturbance on the grid, right? The automated system will knock me off instead of knocking everybody off. Okay, now it cannot knock me off by say my own house. If you knock off my own area, right? So that the other, our neighbors will not have, because they are not the one causing these disturbances. So they are coming with something like that. But that does not mean there won't be outages. In fact, there are going to be more outages, because that means the moment we exceed a particular level, we'll be knocked off until we come down. And when you start the compressors in the air conditioners, it takes about 3 minutes. So that period, they expect that not everybody will put it on at the same time. But you can imagine everybody in my area, the compressors starting at the same time. That will create a lot of disturbances on the grid, and that may even cause a collapse. The major aspect of our own challenge is cost recovery, because it was an unintended consequence of privatization. When we privatized certain aspects of the ecosystem in the power sector, right? That means private money has come in. The private money, the money is not there. They want to borrow it. They have to pay back those loans. So that became the focus. They have to recover the cost, right? That became a big distraction. Instead of trying to ramp up the power supply, they needed to recover the cost. And they cannot recover the cost, because to recover the cost in electricity, there must be consistent regularity of supply. You have to know when to expect lights, so that to take advantage of the cheapest light, which is the green light, right? Human beings will adapt to, everybody loves a bargain. Look at the sun. It's not there 24 hours. But we know when the sun will come out. So we decide to sleep at night. Instead of waking up. We want to take maximum, we want to take advantage of maximum time of what the sunlight will be. That is why the human beings have decided to sleep at night and cut down their activities at night, so that we can use whatever we can with the light. It's not 24/7, but there's regularity. You can imagine the sun coming up at any time. That would be chaos, and that is what the system has done for us. There's a lot of chaos because we don't know when to expect light. If you can solve that, and that affects their cost recovery. Because if I know when to expect light, that means that I can use light more, or their light more. But if you send light to this area, to tell you a show, and the people are not expecting it, most of them have used their generators, because they didn't know when light would come to do most of their things. When you send light there, the light is there. Meanwhile, you are switched off the adjacent something. So, and it's perishable. So they are not using maximum, so you cannot recover your cost. So you need to be very consistent and regular for you to recover cost. So we have so many things, particularly when it is not, when you have to switch off a cluster to give another cluster light. If the light is there for everybody, right? It is the average is that okay, people will use light and everything, it will even out. But it becomes very bad and very uneconomical when you switch off one area and you don't know whether that area will maximize the use of electricity. I mean, meanwhile, maybe the area that really wanted to maximize it, you have switched them off to give this area who because they didn't know when you're going to bring light. They have done most of their activities, their demand on their generators. When you bring light, they'll just be watching you. Okay, they will still take it anyway. Meanwhile, you are losing money. Lagos is kind. Lagos is kind. It's a part of consumption because Lagos has high consumption rate because of high population, right? And the byproduct of consumption is waste. So if Lagos can use that waste to generate electricity, why not? Lagos has the highest waste disposable in almost in Africa. So we can turn that biogas. We can turn it into biogas, right? To produce electricity. We are very close to the ocean. Wind, we can do that. So we have that. The sun is there most of the time, almost every day. We can turn every roof into a solar panel. So we can do, but they recover cost. But then, how do we allocate those resources? That depends on the government of the day. Because the money when the government can say, okay, you know what, I'm going to discount all these things. Other nations have done that. We don't have the technology, so we have to buy it, so it's going to be expensive. All right. But even after doing all that, grid will still be cheaper, and they have limited power. You can give each household light. But another aspect is that, which is part of the act on the Electricity Act, is that they call it net metering. With net metering, that means I can generate electricity and sell the excess to a coding school. It is there in that act. So we need to trigger that. So if I could do that, then I do not need to buy batteries. All I need is just the solar, right? Because battery is about 60% of the cost. So I can cut that off. But if I'm not using it, it goes into the system. All right? They will pay me. So at night when they have light, when everybody has light, all of us will contribute to that. So each household is now an independent power producer. The IPP, each household. You sell the excess down there. At night, when the factories are closed, the offices are closed, they give us all of us light, right? Then the difference is what I pay, or I may even have plus. If I didn't use my own during the day, maybe I'm at work, but I've sold power. So at night it evens out. I may not even have to buy electricity again. But I am now an electricity producer. So each household can be. And Lagos State can do that. And not only Lagos State, every state. Lagos State, I've said it. If I were to in Lagos State, what I will have done is that whatever power that is coming to Lagos State between the Eco Disco and the Kenya Disco, right, which is close to about 1,000 megawatts a day, right, as low as it is, I will direct it to only households and small businesses. I will cut off all the big industrial users. I will cut off NTA. You are one of the big ones. Come on, wait a minute. But you will run your generator, right? With the net metering, you sell access to the grid. You make money. You may probably not even have to pay for electricity. Yes, because that will pay for itself. Because you have bigger generators, and you don't use. And most of the things just for cooling. Most of your equipments are electronics. They use little power. You know, they can use battery power, DC. So you sell excess. You have excess, and the technology has gone to a point that you don't need to. You will decommission all these air conditioners, right? Because when you run a generator, 40% you only get 40% out of what your input. 60% is wasted as heat. So the technology is there now. You can recover that heat and turn it to more electricity to sell, to cool it, to sell directly to cool it. That's what we do on aeroplanes. Inside the aircraft is very cold. We don't use the compressors. We tap from the hot part of the engine and using heat exchangers to convert to that cool. Like you have to put on the blanket. You can do that. The technology is there. So you can do that. So I will do that for Lagos State. And Lagos State will not be selling power to others. After a while, Lagos State may not say, okay, you know what? That 1,000, let's give other states. Because you even have access to sell to them. That's what I would do.
Thank you so much, Captain Caulcrick, for sharing your opinion about these things with us and telling us the way forward. We appreciate your being on this program, Facts, Face and Forum. Thank you. Well, that's all for today on Facts, Face and Forum. I hope you had a good day. Thank you for being part of today. I'm Peace Isaac Kirogo. I'll see you again next week, God willing. Bye.